Good morning and welcome to the Spotlight interview series. On behalf of TCI Secretariat, I would like to thank you for taking the time to be here today with us for the Spotlight interview. So let's start with introductions. Can you please tell us your name and where you're located and the organization you're associated with, and briefly about your organization's work?
Uh, Hi, Fiza. My name is Sadam Hanjabam, and I am located in Manipur in India. So I lead an organization called YAOL. YAOL is an queer-led organization, queer and youth-led organization based in Imphal, and we mostly work on the intersections of young people's issue on health and well-being. So we work with different communities. One is with LGBTI community. We work with young people living with HIV and young people living with psychosocial disabilities and people affected by conflict and crisis. So we do advocacy, capacity building, and a little bit of research. And we mostly use sports to create, safer spaces and support system for the communities as a peer support model. So this are a little bit of work that we do and the tools that we use in achieving these things.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So my next question is, what has been your organization's work in sensitizing and creating awareness among persons with psychosocial disabilities who use substances?
Yeah, as I said, I'm from Manipur. Manipur falls under a conflict zone around the Myanmar, Indo-Myanmar border, which has been under conflict, and many people live with intergenerational trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. So there's a bigger mental health crisis which has been happening in the region for long, and the border region is also known for proximity to the Golden Triangle, to Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. So this is a new trade route, not very new, but this is a trade route for drugs from Myanmar towards India. Manipur is in the middle of this thing. Manipur is the gateway mostly for the for drugs to come in. And because of this intersection on conflict, young people living in conflict, and also with the mental health crisis and the availability of so many substances in the region, this creates a space for creates a larger void where many people started using substance, because one is there are not much opportunities for jobs, education, and many other livelihood opportunities. And when like currently Manipur is also facing a 7 months long conflict in the state, in the in the country, but somehow these issues are sidelined and as we talk into the mainstream issues in the country. So somehow we feel left out. Many young people live with frustration. Many young people live with that kind of othering in our own country. And somehow when all these things comes together, the geopolitics of the Manipur, the region is a bigger issue, which creates a larger crisis of mental health and substance use. So yeah, that is one reality that which we are seeing from decades, not years, but decades. And we as Yaol, also I as a person who have been a person who have used drugs and also a survivor of drug overdose, I also work on this intersections of creating more awareness through through the tools that we use like sports, and that has been one main work that we do. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So, how have you been advocating and working with other stakeholders, including the state government, to promote alternative ways of providing support and services for youth with psychosocial disabilities who use substances?
Yeah. First thing which I would like to add here is that many young people who are into substance, they don't know what kind of substance they are using, right? So before talking to the directly to the government stakeholders and many other stakeholders, the first are the people who are using substance, and also the kind of the new drugs that comes into market every day because of the new production and new kind of formulas that people put up. on the way. So there are many, drug manufacturing, like illegal drug manufacturing labs, even in Manipur, and there are many across the border here and there in this region. So one big problem or one big issue with young people who are using substance are that most of they don't know what is the substance that they are using. Either they are using heroin or cocaine or meth or whatever drugs that are coming into the market. They don't know what they are using. They are only taking it for the purpose of taking it because it's available and it's cheap, and that causes a larger younger people who don't know about the substance to get overdosed, like me. When it happened to me also, we also didn't know, I also didn't know properly of what the substance was being used, because whatever the the peddler or whatever the person who's selling the drugs, you just take it and you don't question it properly as with young people. For many young people living with psychosocial disabilities, it's that we just want to get out of this, of the stigma, of the fear, to escape from the reality. Somehow many people with psychosocial disabilities just take whatever is available, and this is a big crisis. So one thing which we do is create a lot of awareness around drugs, knowing your drugs, what is the drug that you are using, so that the responses could be in cases of hospitalization or in cases of police complaints, because drug use or possession is still a crime in India. So we don't know what are the crises that will come up. So young people, when they are using substance, there are a lot of layers of issues that they are dealing with. So that becomes one big problem. So one thing which we do is create a little bit of awareness around the drugs, and also we link young people, or we link people from the community, mostly from the LGBTI community, to other networks and organizations who are working immensely and very strongly around drugs and harm reduction. And one example of what we have done with the Manipur government is that we have opened up rehabilitation and the addiction center for transgender men in Manipur. This is the first such kind of rehabilitation center for transgender persons in the country, in India also. So we are running it along with the government, and this is a very new initiative. And earlier, before this, the idea of rehabilitation and many other was mostly forced, because when we talk to the community, we realize that many of the users, many of the people who are using substance are forcibly put into institutions, and somehow that degrades their human value and without any proper counseling. So they are just put in the institution just for the sake of to getting rid of them. And the kind of awareness around drug use, or the kind of idea around drug use, is so criminalized. It's another so morally again criminalized, that there's a lot of moral policing that happens around people who use substance. So this rehabilitation and de-addiction center, many private illegal ones, they do a lot of illegal practices, like forcefully picking them up from home, or forcefully picking people from the street, and even the parents forcefully put them in these institutions, and they are bashed or beaten up violently, so that more like a punishment rather than treatment or recovery. So that has been a bigger crisis. So for our space, which we call as a Rainbow Trust Center with the Department of Social Welfare Manipur, what we have initiated is we have initiated a more inclusive kind of recovery model, where we invest more in the counseling and psychosocial support, rather than forcing them to stay in the institutes. We do have a space, but we focus that space to be used for psychosocial support, and mostly for counseling. And also, we don't forcefully put somebody in detoxification centers or detoxification hospitals, because without the consent of the person who's using substance, we don't do anything as of now. But these are little changes which will take time with other facilities, because now that there has been a lot of talk around on CRPD for deinstitutionalization, and also on the right of persons for everyone, right of the persons of drug users. So there are many things which are coming up. So this is one initiative which we are running with the government of Manipur, and we hope that this will become a different set of recovery and inclusion model through peer support, where people living with psychosocial disabilities and who are into substance, mostly like in conflict zones like ours, will be easily able to recover and again included into the society with dignity and respect. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing the circumstances in detail. And thank you so much for your time again. And thank you.
Thank you.
Good, good afternoon.